Hey there, I just thought I would jump on here really quick and do a quick tutorial on how you can make a simple junk journal using things that you probably already have at home. This is one I made for Junk Journal January 2025. As I promised, I'm going to show you how you can easily recreate this journal. You need a couple of basic supplies. Some art supplies that you'll need are a couple of pens. I have two black pens here that you most likely have at home. You need maybe a paintbrush and some neutral paint colors. These are just craft paints that are easily accessible at Michael's or any like large box store, really inexpensive. I recommend that's kind of an investment is archival ink, and this is because it is waterproof, so you don't risk smearing anything that you may stamp in your journal because it is waterproof. And I think this runs about $5 to $6, and you can get it in like Michael's or Joann or even on Amazon. So some black ink, some washi if you have it, and a clip, some kind of clip to hold your pages together, some kind of thread. This is some really thick thread, but you could even use embroidery floss if you wanted to add some color to your journal. You need a needle with preferably with a large eye so that you're able to get the thread through there really easily. Some stamps. These are from the Dollar Tree, really inexpensive. You can get a whole thing of stamps for $1.25 at the Dollar Tree, and they almost always have these there. And in addition to that, you'll need a stamp block. You don't have to use a stamp block with it, but it makes it a lot easier. And this is, again, is at the Dollar Tree. And then I have a blank card. You can get a pack of 10 of these, I think, at the Dollar Tree as well. This is for my cover, but you could use any kind of cardstock. You could cut up a cereal box, any kind of empty packaging that's kind of like sturdy paper for your cover. I have some tags from an item that I purchased to recreate into tags like I have here hanging from my journal. You don't have to have these, but I think it makes it fun. And just random paper. You can use old envelopes. You can use copy paper. This is like packaging paper. I have some papers that I've purchased at the Dollar Tree, stacks of graph paper. You can rip out line pages from a notebook or a composition book, any kind of notebook, pages from old books. So just grab as many different papers as you can. These are all, just kind of take a stamp and take one stamp and just repeat it to make pattern paper. That's always fun. Actually, you want to grab a bunch of different papers that are smaller than your cover. So it doesn't really matter what size they are as long as they're smaller than your cover. I'm just going to grab these because I already had these on hand, and I'm going to start stacking them in a different order. And I'm going to speed up the video for this, and then we'll come back to how we bind it. Okay, so we have all of our papers cut to size and in the order that we want. I have used an old envelope. I just scribbled a bunch of flowers to make a fun little lining for the inside of my cover. You can put whatever you want. This just makes the cover also a little more sturdy, so I do recommend lining your cover with something, but it's totally optional. And then I gathered all my different papers. I haven't embellished any of them yet, so I've just cut them to size and put them in the order that I want. So next what I'll need is a thread and a needle with a large eye. You want to grab a clip here just to keep them together. With a pen or a pencil, and you want to mark the center and maybe a few inches or an inch from the top and the bottom. Just try to make sure they're pretty even. They don't have to be exact. I'm going to take my needle and I'm going to, if you have an awl, so this is an awl, even better, but if you don't have an awl, you can use the end of the needle. I'm going to use my awl. And you want to poke through the holes carefully. Don't hurt yourself. And we also want to mark those holes on our cover. So I'm going to just take this clip off and put my awl through the cover as well, so that my holes line up when I stitch my journal together. All right, we have all that clipped together. You need some thread. You can use a thick thread. You don't want to use like sewing thread. You need like a thicker thread. And usually the rule of thumb is 3 times the length. I'm going to do 4 because I want these little tails hanging. So just measure 1, 2, 3, 4. And that should be plenty. We'll do a little extra for good measure. And then we're going to put our thread through the needle. Always tricky. Make sure that you leave a tail so that your thread doesn't come out of your needle when you're sewing it. I'm going to do mine where I tie it on the inside and the thread kind of hangs out here, but you could also start from the outside and have the thread hang out from the back. Totally up to you. So I'm going to put my needle through the first hole in the center. This is, I can't remember what this is called, but it's a really simple stitch. This is not anything complicated. So in through the center, then in through one of the sides from the outside here, through all of your holes. Then you're going to skip the center hole and you're going to come back through the other hole, the top hole. And I might need to make this tail just a little bit longer, so I'm going to do that so that I have enough. And then I'm going to come through that hole. Oh. So I'm skipping the center hole. Make sure it's pretty taut. And then I'm going to go back through the center hole here. And go back through the same hole. And you want to make sure it's pretty taut when you bring it through. Now I'm just going to tie a knot here in the center. Take this off. Tie a knot here in the center. You want it to be fairly tight. Double knot it. And now you have a tail for if you want to add any charms or anything like that. And then you can just, if you need to trim any of your papers again, you can. And then you can just embellish your journal. Okay, so really quickly we made a few little embellishments that were really simple. We made a belly band, which is just a strip of paper. You glue at the top and the bottom so that you can slip something in between. Another little page tuck where we're just glued around the edges so that we could slip something in here if we wanted to. And all I did was just take my stamp and repeat it. Corner tuck, which is just cutting a little corner piece of paper so that you can, and gluing along the edges so that you can tuck something in there. And I just wanted to talk about these little tags really quick, and then we're pretty much done with our journal. So I have these little tags. What I would do is just take my washi tape, and I could just put it on the back like this. I kind of like what this one says on the other side, considering this is a junk journal, so I kind of feel like that message is appropriate. So I'm going to leave that there, but you could totally cover the whole tag. I have this little piece of stamped paper, so I could just glue it on top of my tag here. Put this paper right on top. And then on this side, I could just put some more washi. Like, I'm going to put it right across this. But you could do whatever you want. I'm just going to trim it. You can use my awl or my needle to go back through the hole. Make a little knot. I can knot these through. Or if I want, I can just tie them like this. I could even just staple them. If you have a stapler, you could use that as well. All right, so yeah, I made the strings a little bit shorter so they kind of staggered a little bit. And this is our finished journal. It's nothing fancy. I didn't use the paint, but where the paint might come into play is you could take some of your paint that's on maybe like a page that has some text on it, and you can easily just cover up some of that text there. And now you have like kind of a blank canvas with a little bit of text showing through. This is a really neutral journal. Keep it that way just so that I can make the journal any color palette I want when I decide to use it, but you could absolutely include any kind of painted papers or pages. But this is pretty much it. This is how I made my journal for Junk Journal January 2025, and I hope this tutorial was helpful. And if you have any questions, please let me know, and I will see you on the next one.